Welcome, collective, to another timeless reading. Feel free to check out the description box below to see whether or not you're interested in any of my services. Please know that I am a master healer and that I have a second sister channel. And I would enjoy it very much whether if you are considering subscribing to both of my channels if you haven't done so already. All right. All right. There's a lot of tension that needs to be justified. So it's hard to pay attention to your shadows at this time and to do shadow work. Shadow work and the term shadow is to disclose that there are elements to ourselves that we either ignore or we are consumed by, that bring more chaos into our lives because there are aspects within ourselves that are undisciplined, that are perhaps filled with pain, filled with karma, filled with treachery, that provide chaos because they are imbalanced. And to admit when one needs to do shadow work is when they take control of those hidden, quote-unquote, hidden aspects of themselves and bring awareness to. And awareness to is bringing light of consciousness to take on emotional intelligence better and easier. And it's more acceptable to walk in what it is that you can control with the things that you can't control, rather than completely being in the blind and remaining uncontrolled, and thus act chaotically, thus have chaos in your life, whether it's with people, places, or things. There's someone suffering in silence. There's a majority of you who are attracted to full moon and new moon readings, but don't feel nourishment, don't feel that your empathy that you're either trying to fortify or balance for yourself is actually being done. If you follow any of my channels, if you're following my energy in any of this, in any slightest way, you'll know that you'll be forced to know that I am a reader of light and a reader of darkness, because there's a culmination of duality that does not exist besides it being a singular stream, and that singular stream offers a dual perspective. And that's what we're here to read, and that's what we're here to understand about ourselves, to fulfill overall empathy within ourselves here with the Queen of Cups empathy card and those two cups that look like hourglasses. What I like about this deck is that it amplifies. Sorry, it's like extremely loud and there's really not much I can do. Let me see. Alright, that's the best I can do at this time. Alright, so what I like about this is that it's Queen of Cups, right? It looks like 2 cups, but then it's like 4 cups. Looks like an hourglass, 2 hourglasses, 2 different timelines, right? 2 different ideologies, 2 different things, 2 different conquests, 2 different paths, 2 different element of extremes, duality, you know, counter maybe balanced energies or chaotic energies. We don't really know. The hidden aspect of not knowing it is knowing that there's chaos that's inevitable. Everything happens within us, you know, whether we feel aligned with all the flowers within us blooming, or if you look closer, if we have, the right nourishment here, with the right diet, the right consumption, can we understand our aspect of ourselves? Here we see also Saturn, all right? So someone important day may be a Saturday, okay? A Saturday to come, not a Saturday that has already happened. We have Strength card here, Bravery, and the 2 of Wands, Communication. So it could be tied to the need of learning how to communicate better when it comes to emotional turmoil. Because, sorry, it's not the 2 of Wands, the 3 of Wands. Whew. Because the communication factor will be reliant on how you internally justify your own fulfillment of empathy for yourself and others, and whether or not you can show up to solidify closures, to solidify closures in any problematic areas in your life, whether it's needing to admit to leave a career path and choosing another, whether it's anticipating for someone to return and offer themselves up for forgiveness and reconciliation, whether it's anticipating a news of some sort. You are being asked at this time to understand what nourishment means in the context of waiting. You show up to waiting is you showing up to fulfilling your own cups of empathy. And because if the act of bravery is too much for you to do at one moment, it's because you are supposed to wait for something to return back to you, which is that 3 of Wands energy. In traditional tarot, he's like looking out and like anticipating something. And that's what I see for some of you, that you are anticipating something, that it's not about you putting it out there and you want that expectation to be met. It is the universe understands that you are in need to receive an answer that will be forced upon whomever is needed to give you that answer, because it will prove to that individual that they're most likely lacking empathy, most likely lacking bravery, and most likely lacking communication. Because if they did have any of those 3, you wouldn't be put in those position of needing to wait for that to be answered within them to answer that for you. But what you'll come to learn is that the waiting game is about you fulfilling your life with the Empress energy. You fulfill your own nourishment and your own self-care, like self-care Saturdays, right? Nourishment of the soul with consumption of the mind, entertainment of actual food, physical activity, people, places, things. Overall, wherever you are, whatever you absorb at any given time and space of need and desire. And whatever that is for you puts you on a path of naturally creating more bravery, more communication, because you're wanting to fulfill the empathy within yourself. But that is done on a singular aspect of you showing up to that strength and bravery and doing that, rather than anticipating again that expectation to be met by having someone need to fulfill that for you. what you'll see are two different timelines, like discussed before, where there's an hourglass of your life and an hourglass of another individual's life, but they do not cross. So when they don't cross, it's about you understanding that you're in control of your own narrative and that other individual needs to be in control of their own narrative. Whether or not time will sync up like a metronome and sync you guys together has to only be fulfilled with you minding your own business, staying in your own lane, and the other person, thing, place as well. There are a lot of you who are, who are trusting the astral charts of who you are and getting a better understanding what it means to talk about life in the measurements of astrology, how it shows up for itself. Jesus, that is so loud. I knew this was going to happen. But the thing is about fulfillment is, you work with the inevitable. And that inevitability is what teaches you a lot about self-discipline and about discipline that you may be lacking, because you can't really control everyone's timeline. That's impossible. For that, we try to make sense of time, but then when we try to look at time from a thinking perspective, the way we compute with time is illegitimate to how we understand trying to bring philosophy and reason to using astrology to make sense of life. For that, we have to understand that those two are two different mechanisms of timelines. One has to do, when it comes to astrology, one has to do with knowing that time and space is of no congruency. And then the other is making sense of what cannot be made sense of. We have the fate, accepting help, guidance. In this time that you are asked to kind of pull back, you are not pulling back like the hermit energy and like isolating yourself. The isolation comes from inner glow, and that inner glow will immediately already do its job to show you that you are a magnet, and that magnet attracts things, and to look at the things that you're attracting and see if it makes sense as to why you're attracting that. And if you don't like it, to accept the help and the guidance that can be found around you in the measurements where we may be doing. Is it maybe needed to look at things in a microscope to see how we can get the resources to get the network going for yourself, that you can trust yourself a bit more? Sure. But for that, it's a collective reading. I can't give so many options and say, all right, these are the options. For that, you have to do inner searchings of your questions and ask those questions, and feel free to be wrong in asking questions, because questions deserve answers, and answers fulfill the need to give you the nourishment that may be required, and it's also going to fulfill in one aspect the measurement of fate, however that shows up in your life, and however that also includes yourself accepting help and propelling you to feel guided by something. So the Empress is asking you at this time to isolate yourself in the power of what you are attracting, because what you may not be seeing is that these individuals are attracted to you through the fact that you have a great ability to have a tight emotional bond with them, because maybe you're an individual that listens out to people's problems and you offer your solutions, your options, your input, and it helps people. It offers them a sense of bravery within themselves, and it didn't require a lot from you, but what it's taking from you is a lot, because you feel like you're lacking something. You're the individual here and the other individual is not. So you're not seeing that you are meant to house that Empress quality, that you are actually already more nourished than these individuals who are draining you. The masquerade, hiding your true self projection. What they're not seeing, these individuals, is that they're seeing one side of you, but the side that they need for themselves to show up for whoever they need to show up for as themselves. But they ironically don't show up for the relationship that they have with you. And that's where you're hiding your true self. That's where you're projecting a version of yourself that is unclear, but it's only unclear to you because you don't see what you're not capable of, but what your energy is already doing. Your energy is loving everyone and everything, is nourishing everyone, is capable of providing, capable of paying the bills, showing up, answering questions, helping to build questions and curiosity. All right, the spy master, knowledge, distrust. Like I said, the individuals around you that you do not see are attacking your emotional intelligence through the whispers here, as I almost whistled here. The shepherd, celebration, family. Someone is the black sheep. The hound, loyalty, chains, promises. And whoever is the black sheep, they're just riddled at this time with old traditions and culture, and just the cognitive dissonance that is in process of trying to understand what is light versus what is human experiences and making sense their existence on this realm. All right, and that is a lot to go through. I totally understand that. I mean, I understand because I understand that journey, and understanding that journey means that we're interconnected with all this. So think of like mycelium, I think it's called, from in the fungus world, all right, where we can connect in the level of existence where we can communicate what we may need from each other to kind of like boost each other up, or to stay away from. All right, the world, through watching the mother Earth perform her duties, is a charm in and of itself that we could take a lot of notes from. All right. Antimony. Luna, moon. I mean, it can't be said more clear here with the fucking moon and emotions, all right? The full moon. Like I said, like I tried to say earlier, if you connect into any of my energy, and somewhere along the line, you'll be reminded that I don't give a shit about full moon and new moon readings. May you remember the fact that I may have done full moon and new moon readings? Sure. Absolutely. It doesn't mean I can't attract a crowd having that conversation and titling a video that way. But that's not ultimately my interest of using it or not using it. It's more so trying to understand why it's not needed. It's not needed to fantasize about the full moon and new moon aspects of things, considering that in science, we can only really conceptually witness one side of the moon at any given point in time. All right, so I'm going to read from the book, the antimony card. It's wildness, fierceness, and hunger. In medieval times, antimony became known as the Grey Wolf of alchemy. This was due to the metalloid's unpredictable qualities and its ability to eat away at materials in a laboratory. Gold is one of the few materials to withstand contact with it. For these reasons, this card must be read with delicacy. On the one hand, it represents the wild and free spirit that longs to express itself in the world. On the other hand, it represents a fierceness that can turn destructive or corrosive at the drop of a hat. The message here is clear. Channel the Grey Wolf's energy toward creativity. Challenge it to come out from the shadows and express itself. Embark on the creative project or adventure that's calling you, rather than focusing on why you can't. Once you begin, don't quit. The Grey Wolf responds to respect, not repression. I mean, hello? That's why she wanted me to read from. I never read from the book. Okay? Ugh. Amazing. That shit is intense. Intense. All right, Luna, Moon, mystery, receptivity, intuition. We're going to push it through this chaos because that's what ultimately the moon does, nighttime, right? The moon represents the mother of all mysteries. Once a month, it slips into the full spotlight and then quietly disappears, only to initiate the cycle again. Gifting us with a message of impermanence, the moon reminds us we are in constant transition, a continual process of letting go. It is the yin principle, one of listening rather than speaking. This card may indicate a time of rest and restoration is in order, or that a new depth of spiritual practice calls. Dreams and memories may be especially vivid. The gates to the liminal realm have opened. The alchemist's task is to be receptive to its message. Be patient, though, as the moon speaks in a language of symbols, and deciphering its messages takes time and receptivity. Magic is afoot. Sink into it, sweet child. Beautiful messages for you to understand what it means for the Empress to be the messenger, to tell you to accept and embrace this isolation period of your existence at this time. All right, that makes me excited. That makes Bastet excited. Hello. Why, oh, why? Because you have to accept your darkness, all right? You have to accept your darkness, all right? Doing so allows you to heal, ladies and gentlemen, and all those in between and beyond, all right? Temperance is about understanding what makes you temperamental and accepting it, all right? Full-blown acceptance is needed here, because then you can really feel the problem in your belly, in your heart, on your in your throat, right, on your chest, in your heart, in your brain, in your body, and just need to move and stretch and just get that shit out of you, right? And temperance is that energy of that time and space to allow you to get that done. Is there a due date of when it gets done? The temperance don't give a shit. She just says, get it done, all right? And like the last card, that a definition of the moon energy told you to accept that it takes some time. Magic is afoot, all right? Magic is afoot. Ace of Wands, all right? Be careful of sexual energetical traumas at this time, meaning energy exchange of sexual pedigree, all right? Sexual pedigree is an element to utilize for yourself to understand that when you get an orgasm or don't get an orgasm, or you change any type of bodily fluids with one another, you are accepting their bullshit as well, all right? You have to accept their bullshit here with the 10 of Swords. Temperance energy allows you to accept the karmic bullshit and teaches you how to humble yourself and how to accept letting go processes to not allow shit like that to happen again. But you need to cut ties with individuals' experiences. You need to understand when to understand the assignment of letting go. Some of you needed to be humbled in the experience of the lesson of codependency, because some of you are still suffering from that here. Listening out to, with a Knight, I'm going back and forth, Jesus. Knight of Cups energy here, where you're a bit flighty with your emotions. You jump at the first run of I don't know why I'm putting that deck away. You run at the first call of like a good little flirtatious charm, a wink of an eye, a little cat calling. All right, some of you are still pretty low on the fucking karmic pool here of like, get your shit together. Get your shit together. I get it. You're glowing. The Empress energy makes it easy and fun and entertaining, but at the same time, you're here. So if you're here and this all shit has made sense so far in the 26 minutes of you being in this entertainment of the few of you that listen to these messages, well, then consider yourself part of the problem of needing to let go of codependency issues. And that is a very, 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 very lonely process, okay? But if I can admit that it's this lonely and you share the same sentiment, then we need to understand we're not alone. It's a lonely process, and being alone are two separate ideologies. To accept that full-heartedly is to accept that you have a soul and I have a soul. Some don't have a soul, but if you're here, you most likely have a soul, no? Okay? So understand that existence is cohesive unity of multiple things happening simultaneously. And there is a beauty to understand when to pull back your energy and watch the magic happen. All right. We should have known that card was coming out. The Strength card yet again. All right. The emotional understanding, emotional intelligence that's required. Emotional intelligence is best to be understood that it immediately requires air magic. You don't want to have more anger in the emotions of water. All right. We're going to put alchemy to the test here. All right. Water is cups in analogy of tarot. All right. Water is to indicate that life form comes out of air. That was a true slip. Life comes from air, but let me slow down this channeling energy here. Going back to alchemy. Cups and tarot is water, symbolically. All right. You were also asked by the moon a definition of what I read to pay attention to symbols. So cups is water. Water is to symbolize life form to come from it. All right. A lot of people say water is life. Water hydrates. Water provides everything that we need. Okay, so water is also very abundant of an element here on this earth. All right, so it's clear that water is part of the emotional processes required for us to build bonds with someone or something other than ourselves. It requires empathy, like that card in the beginning showed, the Queen of Cups, empathy. All right. Now, to have empathy requires strength, because that strength is about us within ourselves showing up to humble our experiences with what we're going to forego in any given moment of time and space of conversational, communicational exchange. All right. Whether they're emotively tied to us having inner ties of relationships with family, friends, or strangers, it's those elements of water that build the need to have some form of cohesiveness in a relationship of any kind. Okay? Now, the irony of understanding the water element is that to compare it to fire, which is wands, is that it will extinguish the fucking fire. Your fire will drown in too much water. All right? You compare it to earth, and it gets too muddy if you bring too much water to earth, And then you can't, it's like, it's erosive. Think of all these terrible mudslides that happen in certain parts of the on Earth, and how destructive they are, right? So it's also, again, very traumatic. Now, add in air, though. That's when it becomes very interesting, because mix in air with water, and you study something like tornadoes or hurricanes, you'll see that there is an eye within what's being formed. All right, maybe tornadoes don't have really the water element so much, but they do, because it's clouds. All right, but they happen on Earth. Whatever. It's crazy what happens. All right, so let's go back to water and air. Water and air creates the fucking weather. All right, and the weather, if we study hurricanes and we look at a hurricane, we see that there's an eye in the middle of the storm. And if you study that, there's peace and a beautiful sunshine and paradise happening in the eye of the storm, where everything happening around it is fucking chaos, all right? It is destructive, all right? And that's what it's asking you to master. You may drown in water, bringing too much fire element of desires and passion into what it is that you anticipate to want to heal emotionally. You may drown. You may not be understood very well or be felt like you're heard when you have conversations with people that you think you can trust, because then this mudslide occurs. But what you fucking can do is you can stay absolutely sovereign and cohesive to what it is that you believe in, and you will promise yourself that you will challenge every mishap, every hurdle, every obstacle with disciplining yourself to want to grow to what is capable of, or maybe a need to change and evolve, and come to terms that doing so is maybe, in the eyes of relationships with other people, a chaotic aspect, because they may not understand why you're moving the way you do. But the eye of the storm of what it is that you are is peace, because you don't have to prove anything to anyone. You are working on yourself and yourself only at the time and need of space and time dates and due dates that you are okay with, that you bring harmony to. And if that anyone were to have any problem in asking you why you can't fulfill their needs, you can respond in a way that humbles them and asks them to give you more space and time of congruency, because you're meeting, ironically, their timelines and due dates, but you're doing it at your own fucking pace, and you need respect. All going back to the Empress energy here. You know, some of you have no idea what it means to gaslight other people. But let me tell you something about the irony of maybe being in a position of knowing damn well that definition, or now coming to terms with that definition and looking at your life and like, wow, many people are gaslighting me. That should give you immediate fucking permission here on universal justice of calling back your energy and saying, you know what, let me mind my own business and stay in my own lane and just wait for shit to come to me, because why am I chasing everything? Why am I chasing everything when everything that I attend to is an obstacle the moment I act with it, when I intertwine myself with it? Or I've given myself wholeheartedly already and it's still a problem? Take your energy back, ladies and gentlemen, in all those in between and beyond. It serves you right. If you want to understand the Empress quality from it being an outside in this reading, a karmic a nuisance, call back your energy. back your energy. And the star card just came out. I saw it. Here she is. Call back your energy. Call back your energy. Fall back in love with yourself with the Four of Wands. Come to terms with the definition of defining the word fate for yourself, belief for yourself. Because tarot is religious-less. Religion-less. All right. Don't give a shit about religion. Don't give a shit about the gods and the angels, no pun intended here, all right? We're not trying to be here to disrespect them, but we're trying to understand, well, if you are endowsing yourself with all these saints and archangels and all that shit, why is your life an emotional mess? Ultimately, what you come to learn is still about you and you and you. We're going back to the trifecta of creation. You. And you. And you. And then more of you. And then you come across selfish, maybe abusive, because you take yourself so seriously. Maybe you lost your mind because you're answering to a calling that maybe doesn't make sense to other people. Expressing that is chaotic to the whole enchilance, but all you're doing is recollecting, I guess. You're recollecting something. There's a recollection happening with the reconciliation card here, and wanting to reconcile. Going back into the energy of saying, waiting for someone to reconcile. Could call back the energy to be forced to reconcile with you because you're staying in your own lane, minding your own business. Like the Queen of Swords loves to be. She will cut out the bullshit. All right? You've become from the Queen of Cups energy, the water element that I said, to the fucking air magic of beautification to the air element here. Do I need to remind you? I'll show you. All right, Queen of Cups here after the Empress card, and we're ending here with the Mother of Swords. All right, ladies and gentlemen, all those in between and beyond, that is all that I have for you at this time. May you have a wonderful morning, noon, or night, wherever you are in the ether of this time and space. And may you keep flowing, growing, and glowing. Take care.